Good afternoon. My name is Steve Huff, and I am the director of the Grant Nature Center. I'd like to welcome you here to this beautiful spring day. And we're about to go on a tour of some of the close by areas of Grant Park across Holes Creek, and we're going to talk about a local problem. We're having a difficult time here with a non-native invasive plant species called the honeysuckle. So let's take a trip and see what's happening.
Okay. Honeysuckle, at least as we define it, honeysuckle is a family of plants. That has hundreds of thousands of species grown all over the world. So that being said, what we call honeysuckle is the shrub that has kind of appeared everywhere in southwest Ohio that anybody who does work in the outdoors has become familiar with as kind of a pest. So that's what most of us call honeysuckle. Well, there's two kind of groups of it around here. We have the one that grows kind of like a woody bush that a lot of people call bush honeysuckle. And in reality, there's three kinds of these bush honeysuckles. And then there's the vining honeysuckle, also called Japanese honeysuckle, which grows in just profusion and can kind of cover things. Brown color, it peels a little bit. It doesn't have one trunk, it's just got a whole bunch of trunks that go every which way. The leaves are kind of shiny and opposite, that means one right across from the other on the stem. It puts out white flowers, I believe, in late April, early May, that are kind of sweet smelling when they're all in bloom. It does smell nice. They produce red berries that in the fall can be real abundant. Birds eat them, and then that's how it gets spread around. Well, it'll keep its leaves all winter, so you'll see bright, shiny leaves. Again, opposite, little leaves about that big on these vines that just twist all over everything and literally cover a bush or a small tree in an open area. Okay. Hard to miss. Not much else looks like it.
Well, I'm standing on the main trail in Grant Park. We've just crossed the bridge, and this is the primary intersection where you have to pass by to get anywhere else in the park. Behind me, you'll see an area where the honeysuckle is growing quite thick. We primarily have in Grant Park the bush honeysuckle. It goes by lots of different names, but I want to take you back a little bit in time. In the time when Ohio was first a state, and even before, as the early settlers traveled through, they told stories about traveling through the woods, riding horseback or walking between the trees. And in fact, Ohio was 7/8 woods and trees as far as you could see. And it was said that a squirrel could go from one side of our state to the other without ever once touching the ground. But that was before honeysuckle. Honeysuckle is said to have arrived in the United States sometime around 1846, and here in the southern part of Ohio in the late 1950s. And since then, it's spread like crazy. Now, honeysuckle on its own could be considered to be quite beautiful with its lush green leaves and its bright red berry. It has a long growing season and beautiful colors, and that's why it was considered by many to be a beautiful ornamental plant, and that's why it was brought here. But because of its prolific fruit development, lots of berries, and a good food source for many of the birds, it has spread very rapidly through this part of Ohio. The birds will eat the seeds, and then they scatter in their droppings those seeds, and new honeysuckle plants sprout up continuously. And if you'll take a look down the trail, as few years ago as even 5, this main trail which leads down to the chimneys was nothing but a tunnel shaded by the honeysuckle, which had grown in from one side to the other, and the tops of the bushes actually grew together, forming that shaded tunnel. Over to the right was the first area that the Park District made an attempt to clear the honeysuckle. It was in the fall of the year 2000. Some students from the Miami Valley School, needing community service hours, decided to take on this project. So they met one afternoon with saws and axes and shovels and began clearing away the honeysuckle right here on this corner, just across the bridge. And as you can see today, all we have remaining are the native tree species. The honeysuckle has been eradicated. In stark comparison, if you'll take a look just to the other side of the trail, you can see the honeysuckle still thick, growing in and amongst the native tree species. And this represents the greatest problem of the honeysuckle. It not only has a long growing season and grows rapidly, it also grows very thick, and it shades out the understory of the woods, not allowing sunlight and moisture to get to those native wildflowers and plants.